Please join me as we welcome from Kansas City, Missouri, Lou Engle. Lou, Mark, it's great to have you. God bless you. Thank you. All right, many people in the Christian community are aware of the call, but some perhaps are not. For those that aren't, what is the call?
10 years ago, a movement began with 400,000 young people primarily gathering to D.C. to fast and pray. No food, no celebrities. It was God. And it's launched a prayer movement in stadiums and arenas around the world. It's young people fasting and praying, because when there's no remedy, when there's no hope for a nation, Joel chapter 2, the remedy is this: blow the trumpet, gather the people, fast and pray, and afterward God says, I'll pour out my Spirit. That's the dream of the call. It's uniting the church in fasting and prayer.
Well, thank God that you're recognizing that the Lord is saying that it's this new generation. They're the ones that are going to possess the land. They've got the energy, they've got the creativity, they've got the passion, and they just want to be challenged, don't they, Lou?
Well, I'll tell you, there is a generation, I've never seen anything like it, fasting and praying. Some 24/7 houses of prayer all over the nation. Things are beginning to spring up. They have a burning hunger for God, and they have a burning desire to release justice into the nation. We must subpoena the conscience of the young generation, seize them for God, and put them on the pathway to change the world. I believe we're in a critical moment in American history. It's time right now to seize that moment.
Okay, we're going to talk about the call, Houston. But we've got a roll in that tells you more about what Lou Engle is doing. Let's watch this together, and we'll be right back. Bound for Life.
Take a moment and look back to 1916. You'll find this woman, Margaret Sanger, starting what we know today as Planned Parenthood. It was her beliefs that make up the foundation of Planned Parenthood. Her racist beliefs. She called black Americans human weeds and reckless breeders. Then she started the Negro Project as a means to eliminate the ones she thought were undesirable. What Sanger built so long ago continues to this very day. The racist agenda is alive and well, and they've hidden it right under our noses. I mean, right now, 2 out of every 3 Planned Parenthood abortion facilities are in black American neighborhoods. And now they're focusing on the growing Hispanic community, which bumps the number up to 76%. Do we even know this? Probably not, but Bound for Life wants to change that. Right now, in Houston, Texas, Planned Parenthood is building their biggest temple to this racist agenda. It will be the 2nd largest abortion facility in the world. It's a massive 78,000 square feet, and it's being built for one purpose: to expand abortion on an unprecedented scale. As former director Abby Johnson has said, one of their goals was to make money. And the way they make money is to increase the number of abortions. Whose money are we talking about here? This monstrosity is being built right in the middle of 4 super neighborhoods. And guess who lives there? One is 80% black American, and the other 3 are 85% Hispanic. This is wrong. Really wrong. It's time for the abortion issue to become a justice issue. On January 18th, that's Martin Luther King Day, we are calling for everyone that cares about justice and the future of America to join Bound for Life and thousands of black and Hispanic Americans as we march to this Planned Parenthood Supercenter. It's time to subpoena the conscience of the nation. Go to boundforlife.com for details and be a part of shaping history.
It would be fatal for the nation to overlook the urgency of the moment. Now is the time.
Well, that's shocking. It's sobering when the truth comes out. You think about so many liberal women's groups, they proclaim Margaret Sanger as a hero, yet they don't tell about what we just heard, do they, Lou?
It breaks my heart that the minority peoples are being targeted systemically.
Yes.
And at this gathering, we want to subpoena the conscience of the nation and say, I believe we're at a moment when the minority voice could be raised up, and this Goliath, this huge thing, could actually create a movement that the voice of the minorities would begin to be heard in the political realm, in the realm of compassion, in the realm of leadership in our nation. John Piper, the great pastor in Minnesota, recently twittered this, and I think it's prophetic because that's where we're headed with this gathering at the call. He twittered this. Speaking of abortion, he said, Catholics First wave, Catholics said no to abortion. Second wave, evangelicals multiplied crisis pregnancy centers. Third wave, blacks and Hispanics bring it down. I think we're in a moment when the voice of the minority is going to be raised up, and it will begin to shake this abortion in the nation. And I believe it's also the time this year for the church to begin to bring the other side of this element, a massive adoption movement. I was just on the radio, and a man got on and said, listen, those inner city girls are going to have 7 babies, and they're all going to go to prison when they grow up. And something went off in my heart. No, let the church adopt every child. Let's raise up pregnant mothers' care. Let's be the answer. But abortion will never be a simple solution to a social problem. We cannot shed the blood of innocent babies. It's wrong.
Well, think about it. What if Martin Luther King had been aborted? What if President Obama had been aborted?
Ethel Waters.
Yeah.
She was a rape victim. What if Ethel Waters, that great singer, would have been aborted? The joy to the nations of the earth in her singing. I'm telling you, it is time to say no to this and release a compassion response. So we're going on the call on the 17th. We're going to meet in Grace Community Church in Houston. We're calling for people all over Houston, Texas, America, to gather for a 5-hour call to cry out to God, turn this thing back, release spiritual awakening in Texas. This is the 37th anniversary of Roe v. Wade. It started in Texas. Yeah. Let's see a 73-37 window to begin to reverse it out of Texas right here. And then on the 18th, we are going public, and we're going to have major leaders from around the nation. We're going to do a press conference at this abortion super center, they're calling it, to say we're not going to have our people vote this way. We're going to stand for life. We're going to stand for truth. I believe it's a real moment that we could subpoena the conscience of a nation.
You know, I hate to say it, but it not only started in Texas, but it started right here in Dallas. When you hear the words Roe versus Wade, Wade was Henry Wade, who was the district attorney for the city of Dallas.
Exactly.
And Roe is just like, instead of John Doe, they said Jane Roe. Of course, her name was Norma McCorvey, and she's since become a believer, and she's denounced abortion.
Yeah, she's radically pro-life, a believer in Jesus, how God turns things around. When people pray, it releases God into the justice realm. For instance, Bound for Life fasted 21 days just a season ago, along with 40 days for life. You've heard of that? Called for 40 days of fasting to restrain abortion. During this time, they were targeting Houston, a woman named Abby Johnson, Planned Parenthood director, right here out in the outskirts of Houston, is looking at an ultrasound, Planned Parenthood director, and suddenly has what she called a flash spiritual conversion and realized she could no longer do this because she was killing a life. She actually has now become a pro-life voice. There's been on TV shows across America. This is what happens when we pray. God actually turns Sauls into Pauls and brings paradigm shifts. It's time for the church to pray for Planned Parenthood directors that have radical conversions. And we're going to release that there in Houston. It's time not to be bitter and angry. It's time to pray and to loose the massive compassion response to this giant of abortion in America.
You know, think about somebody like James Robinson, my dear friend. He was a product of rape, and he could have been aborted. And his mother, I think, considered that, but she didn't. And so many others that, you know, you think about others that even were born with physical afflictions that who went on and accomplished great things that they could have been aborted as children, like Fanny Crosby or others. But God has a plan for everyone, and we are fearfully and wonderfully made. We're made in the image of God. So for people that are watching, what do they need to do? How can they get involved with this effort?
They can get all the information they need at thecall.com. And then we would like to see all of Texas gather together, those who can, to gather together in Houston Sunday night from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. at night at Grace Community Church to fast and pray and to cry out to God that God will actually restrain this abortion clinic, raise up the minority.